Well, I am super excited here today. Oh my gosh. I have admired this gentleman for a long time, and I am so excited to be able to have him on our podcast, Adding the Impact. It's very, very exciting. Keith is an amazing, amazing man, and I know that you're going to be able to get so much wisdom from his sharing today. But I do want to start off by formally introducing him. So let's have a little look and have a listen around Keith. Keith Abraham. Industries across the globe turn to Keith Abraham for inspiration, insights, and ideas on how to set goals, but how to achieve them, to bring out the best in their people, their leaders, and their business. Keith is the global authority on goal achievement and the creator of the GoalDriver Formula, a formula designed to accurately determine what energizes and engages each individual, driving them to achieve the unimaginable, the unreachable, and the unattainable. With over 22 years as a professional speaker, delivering to over 340 clients in 29 different countries, Keith has been the recipient of multiple awards throughout his career. Keith, you have been somebody who I've just admired so much, and that actually, I suppose it raised even more levels through the pregnant pause we had to have in the world there for a few years, because you were someone who jumped straight in and pivoted. You're a speaker who spoke all over the world, who literally, couldn't. You were held and you were put in one spot for a while, but you pivoted and you created. And in fact, this studio I'm sitting in here is actually a direct inspiration from what you have done. And that I just so appreciate you taking the time to catch up with us today. Really, really appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Celine. Great to be here. You're right. It was an interesting time in all of our lives, wasn't it? When for me, 70 events got cancelled in 10 days, and I rocked backwards and forwards to the corner, and I thought I better have a crack at this thing called virtual. Never done it before. I had a Zoom account and I'd done one briefing call with a client overseas, but I'd never presented virtually. And so went on a huge learning curve. And, today this is still a staple part of my business, still getting on planes and traveling all over the world. But now, with my offerings, the ability to present to multiple people in multiple locations across the globe at any one time has been amazing. So yeah, it's been a cool journey. It's been a good, and in essence, probably has definitely added such a longevity and a unique offering to what I do now as I present.
Well, the name of our podcast is Adding the Impact. And I think what I saw in that journey that you took, and you led the way in this space, because, so many people looked up to you for what it was that you were able to do, not just how quickly you pivoted, but then what you put in place to be able to make it happen. So if I think about adding the impact, you literally then were able to add the impact globally during a time when everywhere was shut down. What was, I suppose, through that time, if you were to think about how that impact, are there stories, are there anything where you wouldn't have normally been able to do, but suddenly you were able to because of the pivot that you made?
Yeah, great question, Celine. And I love the title of your podcast, by the way, because I just think, as human beings walking this planet, we need to have impact. And if you think of any great leader, they always have an impact. And so they influence, but they also impact. So I want to talk a little bit more about that in a tick. But, to come back to your question, for me, I just started a leadership program in the UK at the start on mid-February 2020. And so I was scheduled to go backwards and forwards to the UK about 5 times, working with 60 leaders of one of the world's biggest consulting firms and taking them on a 9-month development journey. And of course, I was in London, people were talking about this thing called a coronavirus, and got back, and sort of by the time I got back and had a week at home, I did a couple of more conferences. I did one in Sydney for Maserati, then one in Adelaide, then one in Port Douglas. And sort of by the time I left that conference in Port Douglas, it was done. Everything was closed down. But I still had this leadership program. And so, out of that, there was a real necessity for me to go, okay, well, how do I deliver that program? Because the client said, well, we still want to develop our people. Actually, in fact, even more so, we want to develop our people. What are your thoughts? And by this stage, I'd watched 40 hours of YouTube of, people virtually presenting, not cooking shows and photography shows and fitness shows, none of it for the content, but just, so how'd they do that? How'd they change that angle? And so I sort of, learned, started with one camera, a flip chart and a microphone, and then just, have built this whole studio here, which is 3 cameras and, all the bells and the whistles and the music and multiple camera angles and everything like that. And so I'm thinking, how is this leadership program going to go? In actual fact, the honesty around it is it was a better program virtual than it was in person.
Yeah.
Because people had more contact with me and I had more contact with them. And those 60 leaders generated 11.6 million pounds sterling of additional revenue on top of their day job. And it was the revelation for me was, and so that was one of the criteria of that program was to generate revenue. But in essence, it was a catalyst for me to say, you know what, there's nothing I can't do virtually that I could do in person. And so that impact that came out of that, and the ability for me to mentor people all over the world. And for me, there was days there that I did a presentation at, 5:30 in the morning, into, North America. I did something at about mid-morning into New Zealand. I did something into Australia, and then I did something into Europe. I literally did like 4 or 5 presentations in a day without leaving home, and still went to the gym, still walked the dog, still had breakfast, lunch and dinner with Christine and the girls. And so, it's like, what can't I do, or what can't I do in virtual? So, for me, the ability to be able to contact people and still have an impact without having to get on a plane was pretty powerful.
I mean, you quadrupled your impact, and also, if we think about it as well, just the impact that you had from a health perspective on yourself. Getting on and off of planes, I know it sounds glamorous, people, but it's not. It's not. It's actually tiring on the body, the wear and tear, and none of us are getting any younger. And so you kind of go, it's that next level. I just want to pivot for a second, because I know that we heard the personal stuff, the business stuff in your biography and your bio there. But tell us, I'd love for you to share with our listeners just something that people don't know about you. What might be something that people don't know about you that's not on the formal bio or whatever like that?
Yeah, okay. I think, obviously you know this, but I've been married to Christine now for we've been together for 33 years. I've been married for 32 years, and we've been business partners coming up to our 28th year. So we've worked side by side, as well as raised a family, 2 girls, 26 and 24 during that time. And, I suppose the things that people probably don't know about me is I grew up in a really humble, like I was an uneducated bum, to be perfectly honest. I dropped out of school twice. My parents taught me, I lived on a farm. My parents, the greatest gift they gave me was work ethic. The greatest burden they gave me was work ethic. I have just been a student of, how do I just get better? How do I 10x my life? How do I 10x my business? How do I 10x my health? it's the real thing I'm focused on at the moment. I'm a bit of a cricket tragic. I look after a first grade team. I'm not a coach, but I look at as a manager, and I've sort of submerged myself. And to be perfectly honest, that would have never ever came around except for COVID, because I had the ability to be at home and I could, sort of channel my energy into something else as well. So, but really, most of my, if there was ever, I was the kid voted most likely to, to not succeed. If it wasn't for me going, it wasn't for my boss at the local council. And for those people that don't know my story, I worked at a local council on the Gold Coast because my mum got me that job. I couldn't get it for myself. My mum, because she had a lot of push in the council, she was a tea lady there. So she talk about impact. And influence. If you didn't give her son a job, you probably missed out on the tea run and the coffee run for about a fortnight. You got nothing. So graft and corruption at the highest level, so to speak. And I think what really, when my boss originally came to me and said, "We want you to go on this leadership program," I thought, what would I want to do that for? Here I am I got a 9-day fortnight. I'm bloody hopeless at what I do, but I can't get sacked. I'm going to be here for the next 40 years. And I went along and somebody started talking about goal setting. I never heard of it before. I was 24 years of age, and it lit a spark. And I think, the impact for a lot of people is there are those sliding door moments that, you say yes to something or you say no to something. And it was really easy. Like, there was no pressure from him. It was like, we'd like you to do this. And I'm going, I'm not sure if I'm a leader. And then he said, you get a week off work with full pay. And I thought, maybe I am. And I just sort of, I'm so glad I said yes, because it just lit a spark in me, and it gave me a bit of a vision and for the future, and a bit of hope for what I could do, and that really set things in motion. So
I love that. No. I love it. There's so many similarities. Myself and Mick have been together forever. Yeah. 42 years, 35 years married, and been in business together as well for probably about 30 of those years as well. And again, that sliding door moments for us was actually moving to Australia, going on a 1-year working holiday to Australia. It was that moment where you suddenly saw there was maybe some opportunity and that. But what I heard in there too, though, was that you were blessed with that ability to have a work ethic. And I laughed when you said it's a blessing and it's a burden, because I totally get that, because it can be. But that blessing of, underneath all of there's this work ethic that is not going to stop you, because that's actually what kind of really engaged during that pause we had to have, because it clicked in. You, instead of kind of sitting in the corner and wallowing, you actually thought, well, what could I do? How could I change it? And even though I know probably initially it was that week off work to be able to go on the leadership course, gosh, the blessing that has been to thousands of people around the world now, because of the fact that you said yes, you stepped in, and you found what it is that you're passionate about.
Yeah. I think, Celine, I think not enough people ever pause enough to sort of go, everyone's traveling at Mach 1 with their hair on fire, and they're busy being busy, and they never ever take an opportunity to get off the treadmill. And I sort of do this, these days I do it every day. I ride 10K on my bike, which is no big deal, but it's 10K from here to the, round trip to here to the gym. And I go to the gym, and then I go for a walk for about 6 or 8K. But that 6 or 8K is really valuable, because I think about my goals, and I think about what I need to do and what I need to change and what I need to adjust. But for most people, they're never stopping enough to say, okay, what do I need to do next to be able to go to the next level? What am I really trying to achieve? And if you want to have an impact, and forget about a global impact, I never ever thought speak to 1.7 million people around the world, or, in all these different countries and all these different companies and all that sort of stuff. But if you just think about it, is everybody leaves a legacy. Now, the question is, what will you be remembered for, and how long will you be remembered for it? And for a lot of people, we never ever take the moment to get off the treadmill and sort of go, what impact am I going to have on the people around me, or more importantly, the people who are most important to me? And to be able to sort of, reset our lives when things go a bit pear-shaped, like, COVID, went pear-shaped for a lot of people, and a lot of people still trying to recover from that. A lot of people are still, stuck, and it's you just got to be able to sort of say, okay, if it's to be, it's got to be up to me, and I'm the person that needs to be able to push it and propel it forward.
Yeah.
And so the ability to stop and think about, what's important, what matters, and what's going to make a difference to me. What's my passion? What's the 100 things I want to achieve? What's the 20 experiences I want to have this year? What's the, what drives me? What slows me down? What strengthens my determination has been the thing I've been most curious about in the education around people. And at the end of the day, it comes down to three things. It comes down to taking action. For me, apart from building a studio, I made 200 phone calls to clients all over the world to say, firstly, are you okay? You, your family, are you okay? Secondly, is how best can I be of service? I don't want to be paid. I'm happy I'm doing nothing anyway, so why not add some value? Because I'm just a great believer, like you are, the law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more you get. But take action. The second thing is be held accountable to either something or someone. And if it's someone is yourself, then great. If it's somebody outside of yourself, then that's even better, because I've got some wonderful statistics on, if you want to achieve your goals, faster, easier, and better, then be held accountable. And the third thing is go and work towards accomplishing or achieving something that is most important to you. And to be able to work that out, you've got to, stop, get off the treadmill and think about that, and think about what it is for the week, the month, the year, the next 10 years.
It's so true, because, I was raised with a massive work ethic as well. It was just how we were reared back in Dublin. There was nothing handed to you. Working class Dublin family, you got up and you did it if you wanted it. Which, as we both said earlier on, is a blessing and a burden. Because then what happens is we get into the busy being busy, and even busy being productive, but we don't take the time to step out to go, okay, I need that time to reflect. And I've really been looking at that even more over these later years. And if there's only one thing you take out of here today from those of us who, the two of us here who have been around a little bit longer maybe than some of you, I would encourage you. We're mature. That's what it is. We started a group called Women of Wisdom.
No, I love it. I love it.
But it is to actually stop, reflect, reset, and then step forward. Take the time to actually reflect on how far you've come. Because even when we think, oh, we've not achieved our goal, we've all come further along the journey than oftentimes we give ourselves credit for. And those moments of reflecting, and then I think the other part of that is being grateful for the journey, for the lessons, for how far we have come. But there's so much in there. It's funny, the if it is to be, it is up to me, sat on the front of my diary. I used to change it over every year for nearly the first 10 years of my direct selling career, because it was that reminder that at the end of the day, I need to get up, get dressed, and do the work. There can be all of the tools, all of the resources, everything. But if I wasn't prepared to do the work, then it was not happening. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. It comes back to, I talk about work ethic, and the key there is if it's not working, then what do you need to do about it? And not, it's and just take full responsibility. That's I have a morning ritual. I listen to some meditation music, about 11 minutes. But during that 11 minutes, I go through what I'm grateful for. But I go through, and this is a little different. I go through what I'm grateful for that has been terrible to me.
Yeah.
Because I think until you understand, until you become grateful for the challenge, it'll always own you. And so I'm grateful for the clients that say no, or the things that go pear-shaped, or the learning experiences I've had that weren't earning experiences. And then the second piece is I just think about all the things that I'm abundant in. Like I have the abundance of friends, the abundance of wisdom, the abundance of knowledge, the abundance of people who are in my corner backing me. And then the third thing is what I need to be disciplined in. What are those daily habits that just are the foundation for my achievement? And, you talked about reflect there before, Celine. Two books that have had a significant impact on me over the last sort of 12 months. One is, and they're both by the same authors. One is The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, because what they're talking about there is that so often we are looking at the gap, not the gain. And so often when we reflect, we're reflecting on the things that hasn't worked rather than the progress that we've made. And progress is inspiring. When you can identify the progress that you've made, it becomes quite compelling. And the second book is, by them is a book which I'm, I've listened to, I've read, I'm now, second or third time around reading it now, is 10x is better than 2x. And when you sort of listen to that, you go, oh, geez, Keith, I'm working at capacity now. I can't work 10 times harder. And in actual fact, we want you to work less. We want you to sort of let go of the 80% that's just not moving you in the right direction, and really think about the 20% that's going to propel you and catapult you to a level that's, quite unique. And that's where, the beautiful part about it is you become very, very creative in starting to think about how to do that.
I'm giggling to myself here because I am studying 10x is easier than 2x, both by the book and listening to it. I'm on to my second or third listening.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
I have downloaded The Gap and the Gain, so I haven't actually started reading that one yet, and I'm just started Who Not How, all by the same authors.
Yeah, they're very just amazing. I've seen Dan Sullivan present. I was on the same program with him with the $1 Million Roundtable in the States a number of years ago, and he was main platform, I was main platform, about 10,000 people in the room, and I first got exposed to his work, and I went, it's so profound, just so profound, wisdom, and and I just think I encourage people to read it, because it will just transform how you go about thinking about what's important, what matters, and what's going to make a difference at moving the dial, because it's so easy to get stuck in the groove of just doing what's in front of you rather than sort of looking up and going, am I in the right jungle? Am I on the right highway?
Yeah. Our leadership team, our field leadership team, and our in-house management team are both reading the book as well at the same time. So it is very, very profound. I'm going to make a little shift here then into one of the areas where you are just a king around. And you mentioned Dan, and I think about even some of the examples of the goals that he has actually set. I think one of his latest one was, I think at 75, he set a goal to write another 100 books, 25-year goals and things like that. So truly amazing. But when you look at your goals, it's that you talk about starting with how, not why, when achieving your goals. And that might sound counterintuitive to some people, because we're always talking about the why and all the rest of it. For you to share your wisdom around this.
Yeah, thanks, Celine. Here's what I know. Why is difficult. Why is difficult, and I'm not shying away from difficult, but for people to identify their why, you've got to go and sit on a rock in the middle of a rainforest for 2 weeks. And people just don't have time to do that. But I can get anybody to get really clear on what's important, what matters to them by just asking three simple questions. And if I can, we're obviously recording this both video and audio. So if you're only listening to it audio, you won't sort of get this, you won't get this model. But if you're keen to get the model, then you have to watch the video. But one of the things, Celine, if I put this up here. One of the things I often say to people, and we've all heard this, is that start with why, and it just takes too long. It really just does take too long. And then of course you got what, and then you've got how. And so over the 9 years of research that I've done around what drives people to achieve what's really important to them, what I say to people is start with how. And the first how is not how to do it, but how do you want to feel? Because once you know how you want to feel, and of course of the 135 different emotions you can experience as an adult, 64 of them are positive. Of the 64 from the research that we've done over the last 9 years is 8, there are 8 what I call goal drivers. And this is what the diagnostic is built around and everything like that. But let me give you the essence of it, is that if you can understand how you want to feel. So for most people, they want to feel successful, they want to feel purposeful, they want to feel inspired, they want to feel happy, they want to feel organized, they want to feel respected, they want to feel confident, they want to feel relaxed. If you can understand how you want to feel, and pick any area, pick any area, in your health, how do you want to feel? I want to feel, I want to feel confident. Great. Okay. So now that you pick that, what's the goal? What's the goal you need to achieve to feel confident? I need to drop 5 kilos so I can fit into that, black suit, that black dress. I need to what's saying, okay, great. Okay. So, and then we ask the question, why? Why is that so important to you to fit into that dress, to fit into that, to feel so you can feel confident? And so all of a sudden, in the matter of and what the goal is and how they want to feel, all by just going through that process. And by the way, it's the same with pick any area, Celine. So if somebody's in a relationship and you go, okay, so how do you want to feel about your relationship? I want to feel successful. Great. Okay. So what's the goal you need to achieve to feel successful? Well, why is that important to you? Because I come from a broken family and I want to make sure that I'm a role model for my family, blah, 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 blah. And if you want to really go one step further with all of this, Celine, this is the work that I'm doing currently with people is you go, okay, well, your team, they serve customers. And you go, right. So how do you want your customers to feel? Okay, so what's the goal that you need to achieve so your customers feel that? Respected?
Yeah.
And why is that important to you? Because if my customers feel respected, they're going to refer me, they're going to recommend me, they're going to return. And so all of a sudden, those 3 questions, that inverted triangle, is a basis for people to just understand, to get in this corridor of clarity, not the chasm of confusion.
I love that. And it's profound in its simplicity. I mean, because literally, yeah. I giggled when you said, to get to that why, you got to go and sit in a rainforest on a rock and whatever like that. And it's just so true because, in my experience, I've been in this profession now for 40 plus years. I look at it, and one of the biggest things is, and especially I think in this last 10 to 15 years, people have got so caught up with the why. And I can understand, most definitely. I mean, I can understand where you can kind of go with that and build from it. However, at the end of the day, most people then think that their why needs to be huge, that their why needs to be they're going to change the world, and their why is all of, they're going to make this huge difference or whatever. Whereas, when I talk back to them, when I was actually starting in the field, my first why was a fridge freezer, a side-by-side fridge freezer. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was very quickly I needed to move into how was that, what do I need to do to make that happen? And so then from there, that gave me confidence and belief that I could do that, which meant I could do something maybe a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Whereas so many people get frozen in this, I need to have a why as big as that person or that person, and they haven't actually done the journey. Have you found that?
Yeah. Here's what I believe. I think people, when they say, I need to find my why, it's an excuse. Mm-hmm. It's an excuse, because really, you're right. The why might be an extra $100 a week, because that, and it's not about the money. It's what that money does, or that's my school fees. That's that shaves off, 10 years off my mortgage, and I think people have so. I don't want to be too contrarian here, but I think people got so stuck on, I've got to start with why. No, start with how. How gets you there in a heartbeat, as you've just seen me demonstrate. And I think, and you're right. 15 years ago, that was I need to find my why. No, you just need to find a reason for now. And really that reason is how you want to feel. We're all emotional creatures, so. I found that a lot, and by me just drawing that simple triangle with people example and walking them through that process, all of a sudden people go, well, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly, 100% makes sense, because take the complexity, finding my why, make it simple, find how I want to feel, and then make them compelling. This is how I want to feel. This is the goal I want to achieve, and this is why I want to achieve the goal. Mm-hmm. Done.
I love it. And I think, primarily it's going to be our beautiful community of direct sellers right across, our profession that will be listening to this. And I would really implore you to think about here, because, one of the things that you said, and again, it's not us being contrary, but sometimes it is that why, thinking that you need to have the why is the excuse to actually even start to move in action. It's kind of, okay, I've got to have it all. I've got to have all my ducks in a row. I need to know why I want to do this and how big it's going to be and be comparable to somebody else and all that before I actually even take the first movement, that first action towards your goals. And what I know to be true, watching people, and Keith, you're probably in the same scenario here, watching right across all different professions and industries, the reality is that if at first you're not prepared to move, if you're not prepared to actually step in and take some action, it doesn't matter what the why is, because it's never actually going to get there. You're never going to get there.
No, in actual fact, you will struggle immensely with even, taking that first step, because you're waiting for everything to be perfect. The key here, Celine, is we have to embrace imperfection. And we have to embrace that we are going to be not very good at it. We have to embrace that we're going to be ordinary at it. But over time, you will get better. You get better because you sort of go, I'll do this a little bit different. I did something recently where I just sat down and looked at my whole sales process, and I just went, I've done this now, as a professional speaker for, coming into my 28th year, and I've sort of gone, I'm pretty good at what I do, because I've been around the block a few times, been around the planet heaps of times now, but it sort of goes, okay, so, well, how do I lift my game around this? And once again, it comes back to the 10X thing, but just people need to really understand that, let your benchmark be terrible, and then you will get better from that. You'll be, less crappy. And then you'll be only crappy, and then you'll be not so crappy, and then you'll be the classic example, Celine, is I and I think you've heard me share this story on your stages, is that I got a good mate of mine who's a Zen Buddhist monk, and so he can sit for hours and meditate, and he said, Keith, you need to meditate. Now I'm a type A personality. I like to be doing things. I'm a little fidgety, and I go, yeah, I probably do need to meditate. So I'm going to try this. And I just couldn't do it. I'd be off thinking about, also I've got to do this, and I need to add that to the list, and what about that? And then I listened to this podcast. This person said, you got to meditate. And I go, oh, geez, here we go. I've heard this before. And he said, we want you to meditate, and we want you to be really crappy at it. I went, I can do that. I've mastered crappy. I can be really crappy at it. And and he said, here's what I want you to do is meditate for somewhere from 5 to 15 minutes every day. And, you've heard me say this before, is that, 21 days, all of a sudden you build a habit, but you still got the old habit of not doing it. For another 21 days, this habit of meditation becomes a bit stronger, and the habit of not doing it becomes a little weaker. But if you do it for another 21 days, now it's 63 days, this becomes strong. It feels like it's really awkward if I don't do it. And so I went, right, I am going to meditate crappily, if that's a word, in a very crappy way for 63 days. Now, I didn't miss a day, and it didn't matter if I got up early, got up late. It didn't matter if I was on a plane, early flight. I did it for 5 to 15 minutes. Well, you know what? After 63 days, I got a hell of a lot better at it. Now I wasn't I'm not the crossing the leg, person, but I just got better at it. Yeah. And it's like anything in direct selling. It's like anything in like parenting, relationships. You turn up and you go, I'm not very good at this, but if I keep on having a crack at it, I'll get better with time. As long as you're conscious about saying, I need to improve.
Absolutely. And I love it, because even parenting, that's a perfect example. I'm a much better grandmother than I was a mother. It's all that practice. It was all that practice. And now I kind of go, I think I've got this. But it's grandchildren time now, or whatever. But I love those things, because in our profession, if we think about it, you really only get paid for a couple of things. And that's reach out, invitations, and follow-ups. That's it. Okay. Everything else is peripheral. Everything else is lovely. But unless you're expanding your network with your reach outs, unless you're inviting people to have a closer look at your product or business opportunity, and unless you're following up, nothing, and I mean nothing else actually matters. But, I was on a call last night, and I was talking about, it's literally just about being courageous to start. If you can be courageous to start, each one you do, you'll get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And I actually love how you put it, and I might just, borrow that in the future. Just be good at being crappy. I like that.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think what happens in reality is comparison creeps in.
Yes.
So I start comparing myself with Mary that's standing on stage. And I'm comparing where I'm at base camp, and she's at Everest. And I'm comparing, or I'm at Kathmandu, and I'm comparing myself with someone who's at base camp, or someone who's climbing Everest. And that's the wrong thing. You just gotta be able to say, right, I'm comparison's the thief of joy, as we all know. I'm just going to compare myself where I was a week ago. A week ago, I didn't even know anything about this business, and now I do. And next week, I'm going to know how to approach someone, and I'm going to go and approach them, and I'm going to be crappy at it, but I'm going to learn from it. And you got to understand that when you first start building a business, you want to be sort of crappy at it. You don't want to be perfect at it, because it's not duplicatable. Mm-hmm. And so, the ability to do that. And I think the other thing is, and I say this to speakers, I say this to salespeople, I say this to people in my industry, activity cures inactivity. I just know that if I do the work, if I do the work, if I do the reach outs, and I built my whole business on referrals and my own, blood, sweat and tears. I've seen lots of people come and go in industries, because when it gets a little hard, because the business just came to them. So whether it was speaking jobs in the speaking industry, or they just found everybody in their network sort of, followed them, but great direct selling businesses, great speaking businesses, great company businesses are built through longevity. And the longevity of the activity cures inactivity.
I love it. There's one that's very similar that I use a lot. Doubt will take you out of action, but action will take you out of doubt. And
Yes.
it's that same premise.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask you my next question that I've got here. And it really is around adding the impact. How are you excited about continuing to add the impact in all that you do? Like, what's this next level of excitement for you as you move forward?
Yeah, I've just reinvented. I've just spent the last month, 6 weeks, just reinventing how I position myself. So, I've really set the tone around, goal achievement. And, for me now, I'm not deviating from that, but it's just how I position with people. And in essence, what I just said before, start with how, not why.
Yeah.
So my positioning now is just showing people the ability to find out what's important to them quickly, then to be able, to do three things: to be able to take action, to hold themselves to account so they can achieve what's important to them. And that's the promise that I've got. And when I went back to colleagues and clients and I said, well, because we all get too close to it, Celine, but when I went back to colleagues and clients and I said, well, what do you think? Where do you think I have the greatest impact? And, the feedback to a person was, well, you get people to take action.
Yeah.
And I sort of never thought of it like that. I just thought I just get people to follow a process and that process works for them. But at the end of the day, what I'm focused on and what we should all be focused on is not the input, but the output. The input is I go and speak, but the output is I get people to take action. And I think that, for me, I'm very focused about, start with how, not why. I'm just repositioning website and content material and handouts and slides and just positioning, social media positioning. So that's all in the process. And that's rejuvenated me around, and it's also made me really dig a lot deeper into some, create some new content, which is, part of the next book that I'm going to write, which is, of that same title of, start with how, not why.
Can't wait.
The new blueprint for high performance success and achievement. So, because I think we have to have a new blueprint. We have to have a new way of looking at how we go about tapping into our emotional drivers. I think we're only scratching the surface of that now. So that, for me, that's where I'm looking to have the biggest impact, and probably in a couple of different areas. One is, the presentations I deliver, the masterclasses that I provide, and it formulates into a bigger program now where, the combination of the GoalDriver profiling tool, which is also part of the, a coaching framework and the, and this is early days, but the accreditation process for people to be able to run that within their teams or within their groups or within their, within the colleagues that they work with, just to understand what brings Larry to work, what brings Mary to work, why are they, what's really driving them. And for a lot of them, it's outside of work that's driving them at work. Yeah. And so to be able to have those deeper conversations with people is really important.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm going to get you to talk a little bit more about the GoalDriver profiling tool, because I know it's something that it's profound. It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. Did it a few years ago with our team and that too, and it was just really, well, first of all, it's a little bit scary how we,
Accurate it is. Yeah, I know.
Okay, all righty. And that too. But how can people find out about that? Because, that is...
Yeah, if they go to my GoalDriver, GoaldDriver.com, they can just go there, Celine, and they can do the free profile. It gives them a 6-page report. It gives them about 10 insights into what what fears holding them back, what they need to focus on, what they need to start doing, what they need to stop doing, what the characteristics that they need to strengthen. So it's a lovely profile, and if they really love it, and your team's done this, and they want the full report, which is 28 pages with 130 plus insights, 24 accelerators. Then they can just click on an upgrade button and pay the money. But they can get the free profile and really get them, help them to identify just give them that little bit of an edge around what's their driving emotion, how they want to feel about, in any 8 areas of their life. So that's really powerful, and maybe a little bit of, take one step back a little bit, is 9 years of research, 4 years of working with a PhD in psychometric testing, a PhD in statistical analysis. Two very talented, clever ladies who just helped me take all the research and build it into a diagnostic tool that, with now 8,000 people that have done it, is 91% accuracy. It's, as I said, 24 performance accelerators, and it's people, the feedback we get from people just going, oh my goodness, it's like, it feels like you've been following me around or living in my head.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. But what we've now done with that is we've also built a coaching framework around it, so that people can say, well, if I ran this with my team, how would I have this deeper conversation? Because what we do know, and you know this better than anybody else, is that people join businesses. They join, if we're talking direct selling, they join an opportunity. This is an opportunity to help me pursue whatever goal or hope that I have for the future, my dreams, desires, and destinations. But they leave leaders, and they leave leaders for 4 reasons. They don't have meaningful conversations with that person, and it doesn't matter whether they're in direct selling or in a corporate role. They leave leaders because they don't have meaningful conversations with them, because they don't know what's driving them. The second is that the leader is not providing clarity of, this is where we're going, this is where we're moving forward. The third is that people leave leaders because they don't feel it's a collaborative conversation. So the collaborative conversation around, what should I do? Well, you should do, what do you think you should do? I think I need to do this. Okay, you do that, but also think a little bit about this. And then the fourth part, I should say, is the ability to have a proactive coaching conversation. So if we talk about most corporates, the coaching conversations when people don't do something right. But what I'm saying to people, why not have a proactive coaching conversation? So you're coaching the people about where they need to be before they actually need to be there. And that's really important in the direct selling space. You've got some people in your team now. So you need to be able to have these goal conversations with your team. Have you thought about how you might do that? And because, one of the great challenges in the direct selling space that I see after working with now, 126,000 leaders around the world, is that they get to a level in the business through their personality, their tenacity, and their work ethic. They've never actually been in a role where they need to manage and lead volunteers, different from leading people in a company. They're now leading a group of volunteers, and they don't understand how to connect, collaborate, communicate, and compel them to be able to do the work to go to the next level. Yeah. And so that's where GoalDriver comes in.
I love it. I love it. So I really encourage anybody, check it out. We'll make sure in the show notes that all of the details are there as well. Well, as we wrap up, I've got some questions I'd love to
okay, fire away.
So if you were to give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
That's really simple. It's a quote that I've been focused on over the last 6 months is, the magic I'm looking for is in the work that I'm avoiding.
Oh, love it. Love it. Yeah, that's gold right there.
Yeah.
I think you kind of already answered this earlier. I'm going to ask it for here as well. What's your favorite book right now?
Oh, 10X is better than 2X. Definitely that book is just a real game changer for me at the moment.
Same. What song do you listen to when you need to feel motivated?
Oh, wow. I've got a collective group of songs that I listen to, but one of my favorite at the moment is Cold Heart, which is a remix of an Elton John song. So I sort of just, I love that. And it sort of sounds a bit like this. So yeah, so I like listening to that. That's a song that I like at the moment.
I love it. What's your favorite quote?
Oh, apart from do the work that magic I'm seeking is in the work I'm avoiding. I love the quote from, and you would have seen this in Dan's book. I love the quote. If I want to make my future better, then make my present bigger.
I love that as well. Loved that as well.
Yeah, I just think that's such a good quote just to start thinking a bit, just shifting people's mindset or shifting my mindset.
It's powerful. It's powerful. Keith, it has been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have you on Adding the Impact podcast. So excited that we got to be able to share some time. Gold, as always. Anytime I catch up with you, it's always gold. So I can't wait. Make sure you check out, all of Keith's resources. Just an amazing, I don't know, you've got a plethora of stuff that just adds value to people. Yeah. So I just encourage everybody to check you out. But you're just amazing. I thank you so much. I really appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks very much, Celine, and all the best for your podcast. I'm glad I was the opportunity to be part of it. Thank you.